here and realized that I had to put a big screen in. I don't really want to be a big screen. I'm a little nervous about getting to see Rock City across the backside anyway, so. I learned how Reverend Lillian usually parks herself about right here, I believe. There is wisdom always in a pastor. That's why you have to live and learn from your pastor, because she's smart. So this morning I want to talk about a couple of things. Sunsets and prophets. My job is to make sure you're glad when your pastor gets back. Anybody love sunsets? Oh, I love sunsets. My favorite thing is sunsets. I've chased sunsets all over the place. Before we were campers, we used to always go to great places so we could find great sunsets. Hiking. I don't really love always going up all the mountains, but I do love the sunsets. Makes for some interesting trips back down the mountain, but worth it for a great sunset. Better to have a tram down, but anyway. So we should go to these places for sunsets. And as I said before, we were campers. We were taking some tours down the Blue Ridge Parkway. Anybody ever been on the Blue Ridge Parkway? It's beautiful. Beautiful. Lots of places you can stop and see wonderful sunsets. And so we were coming down the Blue Ridge Parkway on a little trip. And I just knew that we were going to catch some really great sunsets. I was ready to take about 1,000 pictures or so, scrapbook a few of them. I was ready. I knew this was going to be like the best sunset trip ever. I mean, it was the Blue Ridge Mountains after all. And so I go, and my little optimistic self, expectant. And it did not turn out as I expected. Each day, as we worked our way down the parkway, in the fog, in the rain, we saw a wildcat once. That was interesting. But luckily that was in the afternoon, not at sunset.
It was a bobcat.
Bobcat, I'm sorry, it's a bobcat. Yeah, you know, they all kind of run together.
They were.
It wasn't a house cat, so I was kind of done with it.
Yeah.
There were no great sunsets. There was very little sun. And on the way home, as Robin was driving, as she usually does, I was looking and still watching, absolutely believing that even on the trip home, there would still be a great sunset. I'd almost given up hope that there'd be a great sunset because it was a long trip. And there was no great sunset until we pulled into our driveway in Rineyville, Kentucky. And there, as we pulled into our driveway in Rineyville, Kentucky, was the most beautiful sunset. One of the most beautiful I'd ever seen. There was no ocean for it to disappear into or a lake for it to melt in. But it was absolutely one of the most beautiful as it disappeared over. I couldn't believe it. We had gone a lot of miles. I've been a lot of places. And yet here, at the edge of my drive, was this most beautiful sunset. Turns out Rineyville has some pretty amazing sunsets. Who knew? I was just always at work when the sun was setting. When I got home, it was already set. Long set. Usually it was dark. I was more likely to see a raccoon than I was a sunset. That night, as the sun was setting at the edge of my driveway, I took a lot of pictures. They were beautiful. And I committed to myself that I was going to make an effort to come home earlier to catch those sunsets. They were always there. I just wasn't for someplace. And so I vowed I would come home earlier and I would catch the sunsets. And I probably did once or twice. But then life went on. And a little while later, I was looking through my thousands and thousands of pictures on my computer for something. And I saw the most beautiful sunset pictures. They were gorgeous. I was like, oh, where were those taken? Because we have sunset pictures of all kinds of places. And the tag says, Rineyville Sunset. I had forgotten. I've been working late, again, or in the house, not on the deck. You know, on vacation, you make a point to watch the sunsets. You're on the decks. You run a great place with a deck. You camp in a place where there's a sunset. I could lie and say I was always in the house doing something useful, but sometimes I'm just in the house watching Home and Garden, TV. It's not always great. I'm just not on the deck. I'm not thinking about catching a great sunset at home. Who has great sunsets at home, right? I discount my backyard. I discount Rineyville. I mean, what good comes in Rineyville, really? I mean,
I'm there.
Except my spouse. She was a transplant. But Rineyville, really? Nobody can spell it or pronounce it. Never heard of it until I moved there. Rineyville? And yet, I bet the pictures, folks, Rineyville has great sunsets. So if you're wondering what sunsets has to do with prophets, it reminds me a lot of the story. Jesus was doing some pretty amazing things. Some really amazing things. He was traveling and he was healing and he was just amazing. And then he goes back home. And guess what happened? He's up there teaching. And people at first, I can just imagine saying like, wow, he's really good. He looks familiar. Isn't that Mary's boy? Ain't his sister married to? Don't his brother work down at? Didn't he grow up? We know him. Who does he think he is? He ain't no prophet. He lived down the street. He can't do miracles. He's just a carpenter. Good grief. He's no more a prophet than we are. And suddenly all those miracles that were about to happen didn't happen. Because all they could think about was, well, he ain't all that. He can't be that. Because we know him. He came from here. Great prophets come from other places. Not from our backyard. Not from our backyard. You have to go find great prophets. Not your backyard. They couldn't see beyond what they expected. Many, not all, but many, miss America. It's easy for us to judge them. It's easy for us to judge them. It's always fun to judge people, right? I believe in a few verses about that, though. But before we do, let us stop and just think for a moment about ourselves. We're going to think of ourselves in many different ways this morning. First of all, do we treat Jesus also like a neighborhood pal? grew up in church?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in church. Now, sometimes there are those great stories of people who do not grow up in church, and they went way, way out deep in sin. And when they were lifted out of sin by Jesus, and they met Jesus for the first time, they have great stories to tell. But some of us grew up in church, and we grew up in Sunday school, usually with a Jesus who had a lot of blonde hair and blue eyes in those pictures.
Yes.
You get older and wonder about those pictures. But that's who we grew up with. And we didn't go so deep in sin, because we just never went very far at all from the church. For many of us, even when we came out and went to church. We were. And so for us, I wonder if sometimes we too don't expect much from Jesus, because we kind of grew up with him too. Aren't you the Jesus from Sunday school? What do you mean you heal people? You didn't heal people in Sunday school. What do you mean you can do all that healing and forgiving stuff? That's not what you did in Bible school. We don't really expect miracles from that Jesus we grew up with. I remember the first time I actually received a healing. It's pretty amazing. But it just wasn't the Jesus I grew up with. This one probably dances and everything. He wasn't the Jesus I grew up with. Suddenly I lost that blonde-haired, blue-eyed Sunday school Jesus. And I met that radical, life-changing, exciting Jesus.
Risk-taking.
Risk-taking. I start letting Jesus be Jesus. Now there's a trick for you. Miracles start happening when we start letting Jesus be Jesus. And you start letting you be you. I start letting me be me. Right after Jesus leaves his hometown, he turns to his disciples and he sends them out. It's called the world. To witness to the world. That's what Jesus does when he calls us. He calls us. It's that second place we have to kind of look at how we sometimes judge, how we sometimes discount our backyard, our neighborhood, our hometown. Because I could almost imagine sometimes when Jesus was calling people, people were going like, him? I grew up with him. You don't want him, Jesus. I can tell you about him, Jesus. I can tell you about her. Jesus. You don't want her. We might think that sometimes when people get appointed to things like, oh, no, I don't really think that's the one, Jesus. It's me. Well, that person can't preach. Good Lord. How can they preach? After all, I know them. How can people I know preach? So we can judge each other and think each other not worthy, any more likely than a Ryanville sunset, because after all, we grew up with them, we know them. And of course, it's easy to find all those scriptures that would say, gosh, we shouldn't judge each other or discount each other. Because God does call us, right? God does call that person next to you. It's amazing what that person next to you might be called to do. And that Jesus can use that person next to you. Who believes Jesus can call the person next to you? Who says the person next to you might be called to preach this very moment? The person next to you could be given the gift of healing. The person next to you could be given the absolute gift to do whatever is needed to be done in this community. Could change the world. Could change the face of Paducah. Who thinks the person sitting in this very room today could do that? Is there somebody in this house you think, do we believe God can absolutely call somebody from MCC Paducah to change the face of the world? Well, check mark. We got that one. Who believes that God can call you to be that one? Could God call you to be that one? That one that changes? Because you see, we don't just forget that other people could do it. We do the same thing to ourselves. You couldn't call me God. You think I know a lot about her and him? I know a whole lot more about me. I am definitely not someone you can send or call. I know all about my weaknesses. And though I may try to pretty it up on the outside, I don't know what you're going to do with this big mess. I don't see that happening. Well, Jesus, you're going to need a whole lot of perfection to go out there. I love the reading from our epistle today. The Apostle Paul starts out and he has one of those little sayings like, I can neither confirm nor deny that I may or may not have been taken up and had visions or revelations. However, I did. He goes on to talk about that thorn in the flesh. Oh, we can spend a few sermons on that one, but we won't. But he says, he asked for it to be taken away, but instead God says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul says he learned that when he was weak, he was strong. Strong in Christ and able to face whatever hardships, persecutions, whatever happened. He did it because he was actually weak. Now there's a message for us in that, folks. God doesn't really call us to be perfect. He doesn't go looking like perfect, 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 perfect. No. I guess sometimes we think we're the most perfect, we're probably the most unusable.
Yeah.
Got no sin on me, I'm just all that. Hey, red chips. What's that going to do with that, really? We got no time for God. Nobody's got time for that. But when we are authentic, genuine, honest, ourselves, God calls us. My favorite saying is God doesn't necessarily call you, but God equips us to call. He calls us and he strengthens us if we allow it. If we're open to it. We don't have to be perfect. We have to be willing. God accepts you absolutely as you are in this moment in time. And God will change you. And accept you just as you are at that moment in time. And continue to change you and grow you. But the fact that God is going to change you and grow you does not change the fact that God accepts you absolutely as you are at this moment in time. One of those miracles God does. Pretty amazing. If we're willing. Does anyone ever quote that verse? My grace is sufficient for you. We really like to quote that for the people. My challenge for you this week is that you use it on yourself. I've always believed that God's grace is sufficient for you, and you, and you, and you, and you. The question is that do I believe it's sufficient for me? Even in my humanness. I don't have to be perfect. I have to be willing to be sent. I think it's noticeable. Okay. No more breakfast before preaching. I had a hobbit morning. I had second breakfast.
We got up really early.
Did you say 7 or 7?
Wouldn't be opposed to 7 probably. It was second. We had breakfast at 6 a.m. and we had it again when we got here. Okay, I confess, the second one can make the name bacon. I'm telling you, remember why there's a rule about no bacon on but Sundays when I preach. This is what happens when you only preach.
Usually no coffee too when you have that.
Yeah. It's a rule why there's, when you only preach 3
There's
times a
reason
year.
why there's a rule.
Yeah. When you preach 50 times a year versus 3 times a year, it makes a difference. So anyway, back in the scripture where Jesus is sending out the disciples, he says something really important for us to take note of. Well, he says lots of important things, really. But notice, these were his instructions. Take nothing for the journey except a staff. No bread, no bag, no money in your belt. Wear sandals, but not an extra tunic. Wherever you go, stay there. And when you leave, if they accept you, great. And if they don't accept you, when you leave, shake the dust off your sandals and move on. So if I can paraphrase just a little bit, go out to the world. Some places kind of gotta be like my hometown just was, but not every place. So go on out and take the good news. Don't travel heavy, travel light. Don't take all your baggage with you. We all got baggage. Don't be dragging that with you. It'll just slow you down. And whatever baggage you might accumulate on the way, let that go too. You'll go places and you'll do things and people will say things that hurt you, hurt your feelings. Well, let that go too. Shake off whatever hurts, whatever baggage you pick up from place to place, people to people. Shake it off, leave it there, and go on to the next place I send you, to the next thing I send you to. God calls us to do a lot of things, and sometimes we get caught up on getting our feelings hurt, and for whatever reason, we kind of get mired down in the sand. But we never really shake it off and keep going. I'm not going to sing a song at this point. Anybody else want to sing Shake It Off, feel free to. But we just keep letting it pile up. So I think Jesus' instructions are clear. Shake it off and move on. And the disciples, they went out and they preached that people should repent, and they drove out many demons and anointed many sick people with oil and healed them, which I think is what we're called to do. You know, in our Old Testament reading this morning, the prophets is told to go out. I'm sending you to some really not so nice people who may not be at all kind to you. But go ahead and go anyway. And I want to read a little farther down than what we heard this morning. The people who I'm sending you are obstinate and stubborn. Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. And whether they listen or fail to listen, for their rebellious house, they will know that a prophet has been among them. And you, do not be afraid of them or their words. Do not be afraid, though briars and thorns are all around you, and you live among scorpions. Don't be afraid of what they say, or terrified by them, though they are a rebellious house. You must speak my words to them, whether they listen or fail to listen. You must listen to what I say, no matter what they do. Don't discount yourself or the person next to you, because you're both called. They might be in a neighborhood, but it don't mean they're not called to greatness anymore than you are. Amen.
Amen.